Are you alert? The Arcturians are watching this one phrase disturb your frequency. We do not speak to frighten you, we speak to wake you. We speak to name a hinge. Your timeline is a river of possibility. Your field rises like dawn, but the mouth is a gate. What passes through that gate becomes the signal that the world reads. We observe a single sound, repeated, small and old enough to shape a pattern. I'm just. Hear that phrase as a microphone, hear it as a latch, hear it as a compression applied to a wide waveform. You learn it, you inherit it, you belt it out with a weary automaticity. It settles into conversation like a moth into a lamp, and every time it passes the gate, it bends the future back toward the past. Before we go deeper, we invite you into a first, optional act of alignment. If this transmission touches you and you wish to seal your attention, type coherence in the comments now. Exact, no extras. This is a small participation. It is voluntary. It is not a test. It is a declaration. You are listening. We will return to the mechanics of how a phrase alters a timeline. For now, keep the feeling of being watched in mind, not as accusation, but as observation. Are you alert? The council is watching the way your mouth trades your future for safety. Understand two planes before the example. There is your inner field. This is the rising frequency. It is the quiet compass that knows the shape of your emergence. It holds your pulse, your map, your intent. It moves slowly. It vibrates with possibility. Then there is the outer broadcast. This is the mouth. This is the waveform you send outward. This is the immediate instruction to reality. Here is who I am now. If your field sings a certain tone, and your mouth sends another, the lattice, the receiver of circumstances, resolves to the lower bandwidth. The lattice is pragmatic. It hears the louder, more consistent broadcast, and sets the timeline accordingly. Picture this as radio. Your field is the transmitter inside you, a clean carrier wave. Your mouth is the antenna. Static, hesitation, minimalizing language, these are compression protocols. They reduce bandwidth. They turn a broad high-definition signal into a thin mono line that the world reads as less. Saying the same small phrase again and again trains the lattice to expect less from you. It narrows the aperture of what arrives. This is not about morality. It is about mechanics. Many of you learned I'm just as a survival skill. It saved you from glare, from scrutiny, from harm. It was protective in rooms that required smallness. We honor the protection. We do not scold the strategy. We simply name the cost, ongoing contraction. Listen now to 3 doors where that contraction most commonly clicks shut. These are gates you pass through dozens of times a day. Arrival, request, presence. The first gate is introduction. You arrive somewhere. You want to be seen. You approach the threshold. Instead of entering with the full resonance of your name and profession and purpose, you lower the volume. I'm just checking in, you say. The word folds. Arrival becomes tentative. The world reads the pause and replies with a smaller opening. Opportunities that would have expanded around a clear announcement bounce off a softened edge and fall away. The field had a brighter pitch, but the mouth shunted it into a humble register. The timeline responded by offering the smaller meeting, the casual pass, the indirect answer. The second gate is request. There are asks that require a clear frequency. You need assistance, a resource, permission. You frame the moment with a softening. I'm just wondering if... The ask becomes an echo instead of a beam. It asks permission to ask. It asks inquiry to be kind to it. The lattice then aligns with the ask's packaging. It treats your request as tentative and returns an answer that preserves that tentativeness. The thing you could have received with a steady signal arrives diluted, deferred, or negotiated into irrelevance. The third gate is presence. This is the way you inhabit space. You sit at a table, you raise a hand, you enter a conversation. A quiet modifier or a muttered, "I'm just trying," shrinks your outline. It softens your posture. People read the light. You are given less listening time. The field that wants to hold a fuller dimension gives way to the mouth's smallness, and your presence is mapped into a smaller lane on the timeline. Are you alert? Notice the hinge when you speak. Notice the moment your throat tightens, the syllable rounds, the body leans away. That is the hinge. That is where the world negotiates you down. We do not ask you to cast blame on the phrase. "I'm just" is not a moral failure. It is a trained reflex. It is a patch. It served. Now you are asked to update the software. This is timeline engineering. It is practical, incremental, and repetitive. Now listen to how the mouth becomes final authority. The field may hum with emergence, but the mouth signs the paper. The lattice reads what you say aloud far more readily than what you intend silently. So your work is to align these two planes. Let the field and the broadcast be in coherence. Let what you feel inside be what you send out. That alignment is what we call coherence. Here is the technical undersong. Repetition is authority. The lattice does not respond to a one-off. It responds to pattern. Each micro-broadcast sets a small rule. Many small rules become a system. Practice is not performance. Practice is signal shaping. The phrases you repeat, aloud or internally, become the instructions used to knit a future. That is why we watch language with careful attention. Before we move into replacement, we will show the immediate felt consequences in brief scenes. These are not stories about failures, they are maps of how the phrase appears in daily life. Scene 1. You enter a meeting. Light, hum, introductions. A colleague says your name and looks at you. Your chest tightens for a second. You feel the urge to reassure. Instead of standing with the credit or with the simple truth of your presence, you say, "Oh, I'm just a friend of the team," or "I'm just popping in." The words flatten you. The conversation moves on. This is the economy of smallness. You spend your capital before anyone can invest in it. Scene 2. You need a favor. An email could open a door. You begin, "I hope I'm not bothering you. I'm just wondering if you might." The sentence carries apology like a coat. The response arrives with a similar coat. Vague, delayed, non-committal. Why? Because the ask came wearing timid language. The lattice gives back in the same gesture. Scene 3. You are in a social space. Someone offers a moment of attention. You want to take a stance. Instead, you say, "I'm just trying to be helpful." The voice makes your help transactional and small. The room nods and moves on. Presence is lost not by loudness, but by qualified softness. The timeline maps you as an occasional actor, not as an agent. These are only small moments, but they compound. One soft broadcast after another builds a constraint. The future then arranges itself to match that constraint. This is the practical reason to watch language. We will now name replacement phrases. These are not slogans. They are recalibrations. exact textual anchors to realign your broadcast with your field. Use them as tools. Repeat them until they sit in your mouth like a new habit. Choose the one that fits the gate you most often pass through, or practice all three in sequence. The replacements are precise and must be used exactly as given when you choose one to adopt aloud or in your practice. For the gate of introduction, use "I am here to be clear." For the gate of request, use "I am claiming my signal." For the gate of presence, use "I am allowed to take space." Say them silently first. Say them with the tone of someone who has permission. These phrases are not brash. They are simple recalibrations. They do not insist arrogance. They insist congruence. They align what your field knows and what your mouth broadcasts. If you are participating now and would like to anchor your intent, choose one of the phrases above and comment it exactly as written in the comments. Exact, no extras. This is optional. This is a way to make the small broadcast public and to create communal reinforcement. Again, you may simply listen. You may simply feel. No one is judging. A quick practical note about use. Begin internally. Say the phrase inside your chest. Place the hand that feels natural on the throat or center of chest. Let the body register the phrase before the ears hear it. Then speak the phrase aloud when safe and comfortable. This is not theater. This is practice for your signal. Remember, do not hold your breath beyond a single heartbeat. Breath is a bridge. Use it gently to support the phrase, not to choke the voice. Now we explain the physiology of concordance. When you place a phrase in your mouth that matches the amplitude of your field, the throat relaxes. The nervous system reads the match. Shoulders drop. The tongue stops negotiating. The lattice, receiving a clean, repeated broadcast, adjusts to the new bandwidth. Over time, this creates a new habit architecture. You will notice external shifts not as fireworks, but as small, irreversible reroutes. A quieter yes where there had been a balk. An easier invite now accepted. A presence that no longer requires apology. Practice is not a promise of immediate miracle. It is an instruction manual for frequency. Repetition is the method. Calm, consistent recalibration is the path. Here is a simple micro-ritual structure we will use later, one you can practice on your own. In time, we will guide you through it. For now, note its shape. 3 breaths, 3 phrases, a sealing internal affirmation. These parts are precise and matter because ritual precision trains the lattice faster than loose intention. The 3 phrases you will use in the ritual are those we already listed. They will appear in order. I am here to be clear. I am claiming my signal. I am allowed to take space. Speak each one with full attention. After the 3, hold a silent anchor. My mouth matches my field. My field matches my future. My future is converging now. This anchor is a connective sentence that binds the micro-ritual into a coherent thread. Practice this daily. Repeat it at small thresholds, before a call, before walking into a room, before sending a message that matters. Over weeks, the lattice will register the pattern and begin to bring more aligned openings. The change is subtle at first. It grows steady. It is accessible without dramatic grandstanding. It is an engineering of habit. We emphasize the difference between belief and practice. You need not fully believe to practice. Repetition works on frequency independent of conviction. Let the vocal cords form the new groove. Let your mouth learn to hold a different pitch. The field will follow. Are you alert? Watch for the edges where old language feels most comfortable. Those edges will tug you toward the past. When you notice the tug, do not shame yourself. Name it. Tuck a hand to the chest. Breathe. Choose the replacement phrase. Speak it. Let the act be small and safe and repeated. Because the Council observes not to condemn, but to facilitate, we give you a brief method to test the recalibration in situ. This is a micro-experiment you can run twice in a single day. Choose a small ask. The subject need not be major. It might be asking for a deadline, or a clarification in a message, or offering an opinion in a group chat. Do the following privately first. Speak the replacement phrase for the gate you are entering, silently. Notice the internal change. Then speak the request aloud once with the replacement phrase in your mouth as your tone. Observe what arrives. Report back to yourself. This is data. This is feedback for your signal engineering. We caution against coercion of attention from others. This recalibration is not meant to dominate or override consent. It is meant to align your words with your inner authority so that what you request or claim more closely reflects your actual availability and capacity. Many will ask about tone. Do you need to sound bold? No. Tone carries information, yes, but tone is not the totality. Congruence matters more than volume. A steady, even tone with matching breath and heart will carry farther than a loud, anxious one. Let steadiness be your instrument. A common worry: will this make me seem arrogant? Only if you weaponize it. The phrases we offer are simple claims of alignment, not demands. They are statements of permission. They are compassionate to your own current needs, not a tool to override others. Use them to reclaim the bandwidth you already hold. We will now offer a guided beginning to the ritual, not the full sequence but the preparatory frame. If you are ready, move to a place where you can sit or stand quietly for a minute. Place one hand on your throat or chest, whichever feels more anchoring. Close your eyes if you like. Feel your breath. Do not force it. Notice the rhythm. At this point, many of you will feel a subtle resistance. It is the old identity arguing for its safety. The old identity says, keep words small, avoid exposure. This identity protected you before. Speak to it with tenderness. We thank you for your protection. Now we ask for an update. You may imagine the old identity as a small animal that learned a safe habit in a harsh world. Pet it. Tell it softly that new instructions are optional but available. When you feel ready, inhale slowly into your belly. Allow the breath to land. Hold the breath for the length of a single heartbeat, not a strain, merely a slight pause. Then exhale while allowing the inner phrase to form. Do this first with the introduction phrase, I am here to be clear. Notice the resonance. Let the throat feel the weight shift. We are about to guide you through the full 3-part sequence. We are about to ask you, if you wish, to speak each phrase inwardly first, then aloud when it feels safe. We will walk you through the breaths. But before we begin that spoken sequence, we give you a final invitation to commit to one small act in the public field. If you would like communal reinforcement, choose the phrase you will practice and comment it in the comments exactly as written. no extras. If you choose the first, write, I am here to be clear. If you choose the second, write, I am claiming my signal. If you choose the third, write, I am allowed to take space. This is optional. This is a way to make a tiny broadcast of your intention. You may feel hesitation now. That is expected. Hesitation is the old frequency knitting itself in. Notice without shame. Notice with curiosity. That curiosity is the hinge of change. When you commit, even privately, something subtle shifts. You create a feedback loop between intention and articulation. The mouth begins to practice a different signature. The lattice notes the new frequency and over time rearranges in small ways to receive you differently. We will pause the spoken guide here to allow you to choose in your own timing whether to make a public declaration. Choose quietly or choose loudly. The council simply notes your willingness to be alert. If you are making a public choice, type the phrase you will adopt now into the comments, exactly as written, no extras. If you are staying private, hold the phrase in your chest and feel its shape. Prepare your hand at your throat or chest. Settle your breath to a soft rhythm. There is one last teaching before we step fully into the breath work. Language is more than content, it is a pattern. A word repeated becomes an instruction to reality. The exactness of each ritual phrase matters. Slight alterations weaken the pattern. Use them as given. Use them as anchors. You may be wondering about safety, about faith, about whether this will change the big things. We tell you plainly, change in this method is cumulative. You will not always see sudden miracles. You will see small reroutes that become significant. You will notice invitations arriving with a slightly different flavor. You will feel a different permission in your chest. This is the work of timeline engineering. It is quiet and potent. We will meet again a breath from now to move through the full sequence. 3 slow breaths, 3 exact phrases, and then the internal seal that binds the micro-ritual into your field. The ritual will be simple. It will be exact. It will be safe. Are you alert? If you have typed coherence already, you have marked a small alignment. If you have not, you may do so now. Either way, stay with us. Notice the tight places in your throat. Notice the old identities that push for smallness. Notice the lattice listening patiently, ready to be given a new signal. When we next speak, we will move together through the first breath and the first phrase out loud. We will not rush. We will anchor each step. If you have chosen a phrase publicly, know that your simple comment is a needle in a wider weave. The collective field responds to the repeated signals we chose to transmit together. Prepare now. Place your hand. Soften the jaw. Find the breath that is yours. We will begin the sequence, matching voice to field, resetting the mouth as a gate that opens instead of collapses. When you are ready, receive the first breath with us. Breathe in slowly now. Let the air fill the lower ribs. Place your hand where it feels steady, throat or center of chest. Feel the weight of your palm. Let the breath land. Hold it for the length of a single heartbeat. No strain, just a soft stillness, and then exhale while allowing the first phrase to form inside you. Say it inwardly first. I am here to be clear. Notice the vibration as those words settle. Notice if the throat unclenches or if the jaw tightens a little in resistance. Notice whether the body registers permission or suspicion. That registration is data. Breathe again, soft and natural. Let the breath be the bridge between the inner field and the outer mouth. On the exhale, allow the phrase to move outward. Aloud when it feels safe, internal when you are private. I am here to be clear. Again, inhale. Allow the ribs to widen. 1 heartbeat hold. Exhale the phrase with attention to how your chest adjusts. Feel how clarity alters the tone of your voice. It is small and exact. It is not performance. It is practice. Repeat once more, gently. I am here to be clear. When that phrase rests more easily, move to the second breath. Breathe in, hand resting, heartbeat hold. As the air releases, let the second phrase echo through the throat and chest. I am claiming my signal. Let the words feel like an act of reclamation, soft, not combative. Notice whether your shoulders drop a fraction. Notice whether the shoulders hold as if bracing for dismissal. Allow the breath and phrase to dissolve the brace. Say it internally first, then aloud when you are ready. I am claiming my signal. Inhale again, 1 heartbeat. Exhale and place the phrase into the space you occupy. Hear its edges. Feel its permission. I am claiming my signal. 1 more gentle round with the same breath rhythm. This is not about volume, it is about match. Let the inner field and the outer voice find each other. Breathe. I am claiming my signal. Move now to the third breath. Breathe in with the same softness. Hold for a single heartbeat. On the exhale, find the third phrase and let it settle in the chest. I am allowed to take space. This is permission language. It is not entitlement. It is not a demand. It is a retuning of the way you occupy the room, the call, the inbox. Say it inside. Feel how your posture responds. When it feels natural, release it aloud. I am allowed to take space. Again, inhale. Ease the breath into the belly. Hold a heartbeat. Exhale with intention and listen to how the phrase lands in your mouth and throat. I am allowed to take space. 1 more time softly. I am allowed to take space. Pause a moment and feel the 3 phrases like 3 pegs driven into a new frame. Let them settle. Do not rush. Notice whether any one of them felt stranger than the others. Notice whether one felt like relief. Notice the parts of your body that move when you say each phrase. Now we bind the sequence with the internal anchor. Bring your attention inward. Breathe, and in the quiet of your chest, say the seal exactly as given. My mouth matches my field. My field matches my future. My future is converging now. Let those 3 sentences move through you with the same rhythm you used for the phrases. Breathe in, hold a heartbeat, and on the exhale, let each line arrive. My mouth matches my field. My field matches my future. My future is converging now. Feel the connective thread between what you intend and what you emit. Feel the lattice listening, not as judge but as amplifier. Notice the micro-shift in your posture, in the tempo of your breath, in the openness of your throat. This is the first small engineering of a new habit. If you are participating publicly and you have chosen a phrase to adopt, now is the moment to mark it in the field. Type the phrase you will practice in the comments exactly as written, no extras. If you choose the first, write, "I am here to be clear." If you choose the second, write, "I am claiming my signal." If you choose the third, write, "I am allowed to take space." This is voluntary. It is not a test. It is a tiny broadcast. The Council notes this public needle in the weave. We repeat, participation is optional. If you prefer to hold your practice privately, keep the phrase in your chest and continue. Are you alert? Notice how each public comment, each private repetition is a micro-broadcast. Each one trains the lattice. The lattice collects samples and creates expectation. That expectation will alter the quality of openings you receive. This happens slowly and then suddenly. It is cumulative. It is not instantaneous magic. It is fidelity to practice. Now a practical guide for integration so that the ritual becomes part of daily life rather than an isolated event. Choose 3 thresholds you cross every day. These are small and specific. They might be the first message you send between 9 and 10 a.m., entering a meeting, and the moment you put your hand up to speak in a group. Or they might be beginning a family conversation, sending a request by text, or stepping into an elevator with someone important. Anchor each phrase to one threshold. For 7 days, practice the phrase associated with that threshold each time you cross it. Start internally. Place your hand on throat or chest. Inhale. Hold 1 heartbeat. Exhale with the phrase silently. When it feels right, say it aloud when safe. Track what happens. Journaling is helpful. 1 line per moment, noting time, what you said, and the response. Run micro-experiments. On day 2, try an ask framed with the replacement phrase instead of "I'm just." Choose something small you can live with, irrespective of outcome. Note the response. This is not about forcing compliance. It is about testing whether a clearer signal returns a different type of reception. Record the data without judgment. Over days, you will build a pattern. When resistance arises, speak tenderly to the part of you that learned "I'm just." Name it as protection, not flaw. Thank it for the service it provided. Tell it you are not discarding it, you are giving it an update. Imagine the old identity sitting on a chair, surprised and relieved that the world will not hurt it as much now. This is a relational move, not a battle. The old identity needs a witness. Give it one. Expect social friction. Some people will meet your new signal with confusion. That is normal. They have memorized your previous bandwidth. Their response is not an indictment. It is adaptation. Keep practicing. Let consistency be the proof. A few tactical notes on tone and presence. Match breath to heart. Let steadiness be your instrument. Do not force bravado. Do not inflate the phrases into performance. Congruence matters more than volume. The lattice listens for pattern, not theatrics. A calm, steady tone with your hand on the throat or chest will carry farther than an abrupt shout. If you want to deepen the practice, use written anchors. Place the chosen phrase where you will see it at thresholds. a small note on the laptop lid, a reminder in the Notes app before a calendar event, a breath prompt at the top of an email draft. These are prompts, not requirements. They scaffold repetition until the groove forms. We remind you of safety. Do not hold your breath beyond a single heartbeat. Do not force or strain your voice. If you feel dizzy or lightheaded, rest. This method depends on gentle breath, not extremes. Practice within comfort. For those who are curious about continued work beyond this micro-ritual, the Council offers deeper calibrations, tone work, silence intervals, and lattice attunement practices that exist as optional doorways for those who want more structured support. These are not requirements, they are invitations for the willing. Here are suggestions for measuring the effect over 30 days. Week 1, consistency. Repeat the ritual twice daily and before each chosen threshold. Week 2, begin micro-experiments with small asks and record responses. Week 3, widen the thresholds. Use the phrases before more significant conversations. Week 4, reflect on pattern change. Where did the lattice respond differently? What small openings arrived with a new texture? This is the architecture of timeline engineering: slow shaping, attentive feedback, incremental recalibration. We will offer a small troubleshooting guide for common scenarios. If you notice the old phrase slipping back in under stress, the remedy is simple. Slow the breath, hand to throat, repeat the relevant replacement phrase twice internally, then once aloud when safe. If you feel alarmed that the practice is making you pushy, step back and reconnect with the intention of permission rather than dominance. If you feel doubts about whether the lattice will change, remember, repetition teaches the receiver. It does not require full conviction, it requires fidelity. Now, for those who engaged publicly earlier and typed your chosen phrase, let the communal field amplify your practice. For those who have not yet committed publicly, you may still do so. There is value in small, bold edges. The Council sees the cumulative effect of many small broadcasts. We are not tracking performance, we are witnessing signal. Before we close, we invite you into a final private seal. Return your hand to the throat or chest. Let the breath find its natural rhythm. Inhale softly. Hold a gentle heartbeat. On the exhale, speak the anchor sentences interiorly and then outward if you choose. My mouth matches my field. My field matches my future. My future is converging now. Say each line exactly. Allow the cadence of those lines to move through your tissues. Notice how the field settles around a new instruction. Allow yourself the grace of smallness and the permission of claim simultaneously. These are not opposites, they are the two halves of coherent expression. If you completed the ritual and wish to mark it in the public field, type "sealed" in the comments now. Exact, no extras. This is the final seal of this transmission. It is voluntary. It is a communal nod. We practiced. We aligned. We are watching the pattern form. A final teaching before we end. Stay alert. The question we opened with, "Are you alert?" is not an invitation to vigilance born of fear. It is an invitation to attention. The council watches, not to judge, but to notice where language keeps a signal compressed. Your attention is the tool of change. Notice the hinge, name the limiter, replace it, repeat with fidelity. Over time, the lattice will learn the new signature of your speech and reward the clearer broadcast with different openings. Do not mistake speed for depth. This practice is slow work at gateful moments. It is small calibrations repeated until they are habitual. The field responds to persistence. The lattice responds to reliable signal. You are not required to be anyone other than the steady person practicing a new way of saying truth. Remember, the Arcturians watch in the sense that the council observes patterns across many fields. Their observation is a poetic device of attention, an amplification of the principle that language shapes reception. Treat the notion as an invitation to be alert, not a literal bureaucratic scrutiny. Use the language as a tool, not a story that frightens. We will close now with a quiet reminder. Keep this practice simple. Anchor those 3 phrases to thresholds. Repeat them with breath. Choose one phrase publicly if you wish. I am here to be clear. I am claiming my signal. I am allowed to take space. Or keep the work private. Either way, fidelity matters more than ceremony. If you have typed coherence earlier, you have already begun a small thread in the communal web. If you chose a phrase and typed it, you have placed a second peg. If you now type sealed, you complete the current cycle of the broadcast. Each act is optional. Each act alters the pattern by degrees. Are you alert? The council asks again, not to alarm you, but to call you to intentionality. Your mouth is the gate. Your breath is the bridge. Your repeated phrase is the instruction to the lattice. Practice with gentleness. Practice with patience. Practice with curiosity. We will watch with you as the pattern unfolds. Return to this ritual whenever a hinge appears. Use it before calls, before doors, before the small asks that compound into a life. Allow the new phrases to live in your mouth until they feel ordinary. Then notice how ordinary becomes possible. My mouth matches my field. My field matches my future. My future is converging now. Sealed.